My name is Charlie McGrath. I'm the founder of WideAwakeNews.com. I'm the host of Wide Awake News Radio on the one and only Rinse Radio Network, and I'm the co-founder of Doomcast. I greatly appreciate if you enjoy these videos, if you find them useful, and the information to be relevant and truthful. Please visit the aforementioned site and show your support by visiting these sites: WideAwakeNews.com, Rinse.com, and Doomcast.com. We are staring straight down the barrel of a loaded gun. We are looking at a ticking time bomb. I don't know what other analogy to use to paint the picture of we're at the beginning of yet another financial crisis. How do we know this? How can we say this? Charlie, how can you even say this? We have 6.3% unemployment. Didn't you see the number that came out last week? Yeah, I saw the number that came out last week, and I know exactly how they achieved 6.8% unemployment. And I'm here to tell you that you can absolutely disregard anything that comes out of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and you most certainly can disregard anything that comes across the establishment media that has every single reason in the world for you to keep going out and spending money that you don't have. They have every reason for you to do that, and they have no motivation whatsoever to tell you the truth, unless they're pimped out by Wall Street because they're about to short everything under the sun, and then they'll go ahead and let fear ensue, or they want legislation passed that steals more of your financial future. Then they'll let anarchy reign so that they can get done what they want done, which is the further destruction of your financial future and the further evaporation of your individual personal sovereignty. Why am I going on this? Why am we talking about this loaded gun and ticking time bomb? Because in the year 2007, we had certain economic conditions that not only mimic, they're exactly what we have right now in 2014. The only thing that's changed in this whole dynamic is instead of an election year where we elect the president, we have a midterm election. All the other factors are almost identical. We have a nation that is seeing an explosion in its personal credit. In fact, in the third quarter of last year, in the fourth quarter of 2013, we saw consumer credit rise to the same levels it was in 2007. We've seen a 22% increase in consumer credit in the last 3 years. And in fact, look, when you're driving to work tomorrow, and that's probably not most of you, considering 102 million Americans that should be in the labor force are not in the labor force, and considering that 20% of the households in this country have no member of that household that actually has a job to go to. So let's look at it a different way. The people that you run into tomorrow, look to your left, look to your right. One of them has subprime credit. In fact, a little bit more than one of them has subprime credit. 56% of the people in this country are now considered to be in that category of having subprime credit if you subscribe to such things as the importance of a credit score to determine your validity as a human being. You might not, but the powers that be most certainly do. So when you factor in 56% of the population is below the ideal FICO score, and the fact that in the fourth quarter of 2013, we've seen a massive spike in consumer credit and 22% increase over the last 3 years, you factor into that an unemployment rate that is a complete and total lie at 6.8%, and we get there by continuing to perpetrate a fraud on the American people. Once again, 102 million people in this country that should be working, they're not working. That's how many people are no longer in the pool that should be in the pool swimming and making money and contributing to this economy. But they can't because there's no jobs being created. And the jobs that are being created are substandard service sector jobs that cannot support a 70% consumer-driven economy. Understand how we got here, right? Understand this. We sold a bill of goods to the American people that if we just stole your financial future and we gave it to a bunch of bankers that screwed this thing over in the first place, that they would somehow fix it and we would return to some kind of sustainable growth in our economy. And it isn't happening. Yes, a lot of credit is flowing. Yes, there's a lot of commercials for flipping this Boston and flipping that Philadelphia. Yes, there's a lot of papered over statistics that show a 6.3% unemployment rate. And yes, there's a lot of social safety nets that are in place right now. But the cracks, the chinks in the armor are there. And they're there to the exact same extent they were in 2007. But when this time, when the finger is pulled out of the dam, The flood is going to be something that cannot be recovered from by simply printing money and dumping it onto a bunch of banks. This is why these banks, these same institutions that caused this mess in the first place, have positioned themselves not to be in the crosshairs when that trigger is pulled. I am sorry for all the analogies, but they're quite apropos in this case. We are facing a complete disaster. And these bunch of scumbag bankers, they're not going to be standing there facing the brunt of the pain that they have caused. Look, one of the main pillars is the housing sector in this country. And as I mentioned just a second ago, you can turn on your television and see all the old programs back, flipping this, buying that. You can go listen to hours on end of commercials about how you can get a credit or how you can get a mortgage loan for 0.0213%, 3% APR. You can hear these kind of offers all day long, and you hear the rumors that the housing market's back. But I'm here to tell you, J.P. Morgan knows the truth. Citi knows the truth, because they've seen massive declines in the amount of people that are lining up to buy mortgages. How massive? Incredibly massive. Citi, in the first quarter of 2014, a 71% decline in the number of mortgage originations. J.P. Morgan, almost as bad, at 68% decline in the number of mortgage originations. This all spells absolute disaster. Housing starts are falling. The people lining up to buy, to get mortgages, those numbers are falling. The number of people that are falling out of the working force is increasing. The debt load that the American people, the American consumer is taking on, we're spending money like it's heyday again, like we're in the good old days once again. And why wouldn't we? Everything that we're learning and everything that we're being told from the establishment business media is telling you that things are going to be just fine. Barack Obama, George W. Bush, the Democrats and the Republicans tell you they got it handled. They tell you that the Federal Reserve's under control and these banks have learned their lesson. No lesson has been learned. Everything that was being done pre-2008 crisis is being done now, but it's being done now on steroids. You factor in geopolitical events such as this debacle going on in the Ukraine, of which we spent $5 billion of money we didn't have to create this situation, and you have a ready, built-in excuse for why an economic collapse occurred. Now, just think of this for a minute. You have the nation in an economic situation that I just described to you. You have a government that has absolutely no qualms whatsoever lying to you from the second you wake up to the second you go to bed. Pollyanna, telling you that everything is perfect and wonderful and shiny. All you got to do is trust them. You have them absolutely willing to do anything and say anything to hold on to that power. And that power isn't being used to benefit you. That power that they've amassed, it didn't come cheap. It came at the expense of you, the American taxpayer, the American citizen. And they're serving the people on Wall Street. That's why you see all legislation being passed since 2008 that has led to a situation where if J.P. Morgan goes under tomorrow, trillions and trillions of dollars of derivative debt, it happened to be shifted into a company that is backed by the American taxpayer. And I could go on and on and on about how these too big to fail institutions have pimped out the American people for all their worth. We have to have a boogeyman to blame it on. For the last decade plus, it has been Osama bin Laden and the terror-loving terrorists. But look around, folks. That enemy is changing. We're looking back east. We're looking back at the Cold War foes, and we certainly are getting a nonstop barrage of who we need to hate when it comes to enemies in Eastern Europe and in Russia. But understand, when this economic collapse happens, it is going to be blamed on anything and everything other than the truth. My personal opinion is going to be, is at this point, that Russia is going to be in the crosshairs because of what they're going to do, because of ridiculous sanctions that the West is imposing against them, and Russia having the keys to the power, to energy going into Eastern and Western Europe. This will be blamed for the economic downturn in Europe, which will instantaneously, at the speed of a computer keystroke, hit the United States, and economic collapse soon ensue. This all can happen in a matter of days, not weeks or months buildup, a matter of days. So I beg you, people listening to this channel, people that are finding it for the first time because somebody sent it to you on Facebook, consider the information that you're being fed and then dig into it for yourself. Look at the statistics of 6.3%. Look at the statistics of an expanding housing market or an expanding sector, expanding sectors of the economy, and then dig into it for yourself. There isn't one situation, one statistic that is given to you by so-called official sources that you can't dig into and find the truth behind it. And in every single case, every time I sit down to make one of these videos, I find the truth, and it is not what we're being told. Stories are attached. That's all I got.